Hey guys, we got another micro drone here on the channel. It's the Eachine E40G. So let's get everything out of the box and take a closer look. Okay, so here's everything that comes in the box. You got your quad itself, instruction manual, you got the controller, you got a 5.8 gigahertz FPV monitor. This is the monitor holder that attaches to the back of the controller. You get a screwdriver, looks like a battery charger, USB cord charger for probably for the screen, and 4 spare props. So this model is pretty interesting because it's a competitor to the Hubsan H107D Plus, which has the wide-angle HD camera and has a FPV real-time video. But at the same time, this also records video in 720p with an onboard micro SD card. But the biggest difference is this costs about $70, and the Hubsan model costs about twice as much, and with basically all the same features. So it'll be interesting to see how this model compares to the Hubsan. So these are brush motors. Got some propeller guards here, some LED lights in the front. Comes with an on-off switch. And one of the negatives about this model is that the battery is proprietary, 520 milliamp, one cell. But I believe the batteries are not too expensive. I think they're about $6 or $7. So this is a Xbox style controller. It's a bit of an upgrade over the typical toy controllers. Not quite hobby grade, obviously. Definitely still a toy grade level transmitter here. It's got a push button on-off switch, shoulder buttons. Looks like you're going to need some AAA batteries back here. It's the FPV screen. It's pretty small. Let's see how big this is. It's about, it's a 4.3 inch screen. Power input here, on-off switch. Looks pretty basic. Let's turn it on. And we get a blue screen, which is typically not good for FPV. Usually we want to see a static screen, so we'll have to see how that performs. We got a flashing battery light here. Looks like it needs to be charged. So it looks like this monitor holder is adjustable through these thumb screws back here. Looks like it goes into the back of the controller, like that. Okay, let's get everything charged up. Now, something else I discovered is that the charging of the battery on this is pretty unusual, and I'll show you what I mean here. This is the instructions. You have to turn it off, and then you take the USB dongle and you plug it in the bottom here. So the charging port is right there. And this is the USB dongle, and it looks like you plug it into the bottom of the quad like that to charge it. So it's definitely unique, something I've not seen before, so we'll have to see how it works out in practice. Okay, so here's an overview of the controls here. You got your directional controls here, your throttle and your yaw, and you got your pitch and your roll on this stick here. This is your on-off button. This is the return to home key. This is the headless mode. You got your right and left trims here for roll and pitch trims here, and on this pad here you have this switch here which controls the LEDs on and off. The bottom is for the rates, and the left and right here is for the yaw trim. The shoulder buttons here, the one over here does a 3D flip, and the one on the left controls the camera for the photo and video modes. So I've got everything charged up now. I'm going to turn everything on, and I'll show you how some of this stuff works. First thing you gotta do is turn on the quad, and turn on your transmitter, and then to bind it you go all the way up and down, and we're bound. Then we'll turn on the FPV monitor, and we should see that the camera is working now. The field of view on this camera is interesting. Let's see if I can get a good look at this. So I got the quad camera pointing to the opposite wall in my room here, and it's a wide-angled camera, but it looks like it's approximately, I would say, about 95 to 100 degrees in field of view. I would say something similar to like HS1177 or RunCam Swift, which is something that I usually fly with. Okay, so on the screen here, it shows the signal strength of the FPV signal. That shows the channel number, which is on channel 1. And it turns out that this is on the E band, and the frequency is 5705. But I have no idea how this channel changes, or if there's any way you can change it. It just seems like it always goes to channel 1 every time you turn it on. The flashing battery light there is the internal battery of this monitor, and I'm not sure why it's flashing because I just charged this thing, so that's a little bit concerning. You got some icons down here. This is the camera for the video and photos, and then there's a little card icon showing that there's an SD card installed, and then this icon over here I believe is the charge is on the quad itself, and that doesn't seem to be accurate because I just charged the battery on the quads and it shows it's empty, so that's a little bit strange. Now the monitor itself is actually really basic. There's no antenna, there's no channel changing button, and in the instructions there's no indication as to how to change the channel. It just automatically connects. So if you have, say, 2 of these Eachine E40 when you want to fly together, I'm not sure how you would be able to manage your channels. So you can use this button here to turn the lights on and off. And you can see it's turned off. Back on again. And then I'll go ahead and start the video recording. And then when that happens, these lights here that look like eyes in the front, they start blinking. So you hold this button down for 3 seconds to start the video recording. And then these lights start flashing, and it's indicating that the video is recording to the SD card. And then you hold the button down again for 3 seconds to stop the recording. And then the flashing stops. Okay, that's enough talking about this. Let's go take it for a fly. Okay, I'm here at the field. I'm testing the Eachine E40G, and I got it all turned on, connected, and this is the screen. And it's hard to tell in this lighting. It's pretty sunny outside, but I can see the screen perfectly fine. It doesn't show as well through my phone recording the video, but it's actually pretty bright. And should be recording some video here. That's the camera from the quad. Let's do a little flying now. Do a little line of sight flying first. Got a little bit of wind today, it's not too bad. Those are low rates. Let's turn the rates up a little bit. Oops. Okay, let's try some FPV now. Hey guys, now that I've had a chance to fly this for a little bit, I can give you my thoughts and my pros and cons. Overall, I like this model. It's a pretty good value for what you get. For $70, you get all of this stuff. The quality of the video you get on here is not that bad. It's 720p, but you don't get any audio, which is, it's kind of a downside, but don't really use the audio that much on these recordings from the quad itself. The controller is okay. It's a lot better than the smaller ones. For example, the Eachine H8 Mini. That one is pretty tough to control. Obviously, it's not hobby grade material here, but it is definitely easy to control, at least from a line of sight perspective. So when I flew this FPV, I had a few problems with this screen. If you get away a little bit too far, maybe about 30 to 50 feet, actually not that far really, the screen loses signal and it goes black. It doesn't give you a static screen like a typical FPV monitor should. So I'm thinking that if you're going to be flying this FPV with a screen, you probably want to restrict it to indoors. Now it's bright enough for outdoors, but if you fly too far away, the screen just goes black, and then you have no control over where you're going and end up crashing. So when I was flying FPV, that was the first time that I flew this FPV, and I did have a little bit of trouble maintaining my altitude with this controller because this particular quad, when you make your yaws, I think it uses a lot of power in the yaw, and you end up losing some altitude. So you've got to, in a combination of yawing, you got to throttle up more. And I was able to do that in line of sight flight because I can see the quad right in front of me. But in FPV, it's a little bit more difficult because, especially since it was my first time, because it's hard to gauge your altitude from the FPV screen. And on top of that, it was pretty windy, so that didn't help either. I think if I flew this a few more times, I would definitely be able to get a better handle on flying this FPV. It was actually not that difficult in retrospect. So the bottom line is, overall I like this model. For $70, it's a really good value, and if you're just starting out with these quads, this is probably a pretty good quad to get if you want to do some video recording. And the fact that this one does an HD, or not really HD, but 720p, and it's a wide-angled lens. Most of the video recording microquads that are out there have the pinhole camera lens and the very narrow field of view, so the video recordings are not very good compared to this one. So I hope you guys like this little review, and if you do, please give me a like and please subscribe to my channel. I will be doing lots more reviews like this in the future. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.